Last line right there. Your hand is kind of way up here, 5 is up here, and this, first of all, the phrase is, it's a new little portion of the phrase to finish us off, but also you kind of have to like geographically move, you know? So to kind of just pick up and start again is a helpful idea just to get a new start with it. And that's riskier.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you want to connect those? Because then you don't have to pick up your hand and you stay close to the keyboard and you're going to get the note right for sure, right?
Yeah.
And I noticed that that's exactly what's happening here too. You're doing one of these cool slidey like 5/4 things here, even though you don't need to do it, just because it's safer. But doing that lift and breathe thing makes a better sense of the line, because otherwise the entire thing is sung on one breath, like the entire song. Do you do that?
No.
Kenny G can do that. You can do that circular breathing thing, you know?
Oh,
where,
yeah.
Have you ever seen it? It's weird. So, but let's not do that.
Okay.
Let's not circular breathe. So, I want you to try just the right hand with these phrasing things.
Okay.
Good. Now, were you thinking so hard that you couldn't listen, or could you also listen?
I listen.
Because you can multitask. You, in my ear anyway, and I want your opinion. When you break up the phrase like that, it makes sense to me as a listener. I know exactly where the phrase is when you're starting something new. It sounds different than when you just connect everything. Do you think? What do you think?
It sounds different. Yeah.
Good or bad?
I don't know, because, I don't know. Maybe it's my choral instincts kicking into gear, but like, in choir, like, you always try to hide the breaks. You don't want people to know that your phrase is breaking, so it sounds better to me like when it's all continuous.
Right, when they say no breath. Everybody just stagger your breathing.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I don't know, it just sounds better to me when there's no breaks at all.
Okay.
But that's just me.
Well,
it's not.
and what I'm saying is just me, so we can just, you can interpret what I've given you in whatever way you want to. But regardless, you're going to start it at some point, and you're going to end it at some point. So ultimately what we're doing is just putting in these marking things just to kind of have a medium by which we can work on this technique of sort of starting and stopping with your hand, right? Cool. So do you remember those bracelets from the 90s? Those slap
bracelets?
Yeah. Okay, those are so cool, right? So you know how
Sure.
I wish I had one, because that if I put the bracelet here like this,
Yeah.
it can bend, right?
Yeah.
But this stays constant.
Yeah.
There's never a jagged angle or anything. I mean, you can but then they break, right?
Okay, yeah.
And the crease never comes out.
Yeah.
But the point is that it's bendable all the time, but it's always connecting from here to there.
Yeah.
That's what I want your wrist to be like.
My wrist.
Is like the slap bracelet. So if this is the slap bracelet, the bend should be able to happen here.
Here.
It doesn't just stay like this.
Okay.
But this is still all one bracelet.
Okay.
We're slapping it on the piano, but there's this bend here, and that is the physical motion that we want with all this starting and stopping phrasing. And neither of us is right or wrong. It's just an interpretive thing. So you can ultimately make whatever phrasing decisions you want, but what we're doing here with just talking about it is trying to find a way to learn how to do this. So this time I don't really care when you make your phrasing marks. You just make your decision. And can I see you try to do this when you're playing? Whenever you're starting a phrase, can you just play that first note? Yeah, that's good. Okay, so now see if when you go up, see if your bendable can have some motion. Sure. Well, that's fine. You can do however you want. looks like a really different way of playing. So the point of all this blah blahing is not about where the phrase ends and starts. That was
Okay.
just, we were just kind of laying some groundwork for what we were going to do. But this flexible wrist thing is really what I want you to take home, that
Okay.
idea. And you can play it in any of your, we always want to pretty much have that bendable slap bracelet.
Okay.
It's like the wrong word because it sounds so violent, but that's the way we want your wrist to always be.
Okay.
So it's never held in this way. And this working on phrasing, however you decide to do it, is exactly when you want to be thinking about that wrist. Because as you were feeling, I could see you, as you move up and down the keyboard, if you move knowing that your wrist is free, all of a sudden you kind of start to move in a little bit different way. It's not just like this, or I don't have to use my whole arm to get there, right? I can kind of just float my hand there. I think you can be looser than that. Start more dropped. Yeah, and we're almost like exaggerating some of these motions, but just to find our range of motion. Yeah, cool. So do you feel that? Do you feel some moving in here? Or not?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, press save. Okay, and when you're practicing, always remember, just like we don't want to hold this, we don't want to hold this either.
Okay.
You want to have always fluidity there. Okay? Let's try your left hand. Good. And we don't need to go on because it's a lot of the same thing over and over again, right? You watch your wrist. See if you can encourage it to be a little bit more flexible. Good. That's really good. Remember how we've talked with other pieces about that whole down, up, up thing? It's the same thing. It's all about flexible wrists. Now this time, I want you to go, don't worry about falling off the keyboard. You're not going to fall off the keyboard. Like to the extreme, it's hard to find it in your pinky. I think it's hard to find it there. So can you go to the extreme? Go as far, great extreme. So now find your extreme again. And now take your extreme, but know that you have to come up on the next one. Whatever the notes are, we don't really care. Yeah. Okay, so obviously when we play the piano, we're not going to go. Right? But sometimes you have to find the extreme just to get yourself to find the motion. Does that feel any different to you? Why, am I just torturing you, or do you think there's a reason why we do this?
No.
What do you think that might help if we have more flexible wrists?
I don't know. It probably helps with the fluidity of the sound
Sure.
because when your hands are tense, then your notes come out choppier.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It will definitely help with your fluidity of the sound. It'll give you more options for how to play things too. And when we're playing Morning Is Broken, we don't need a lot of options of how to play it. But when you're playing Rhapsody in Blue, or you're playing, Backup for Sarah Evans, or whatever you're doing, like it'll just give you the most options in terms of what you're able to do at the piano. So to be able to loosen up your wrist at this point in the game, only a good thing.
Okay.
Okay? So let's finish off Morning Is Broken. You've already got it. The only reason why you're stopping and starting a little bit is just because there are parts that you don't have memorized, because you're kind of a memorizer girl, which is great.
Yeah.
So see if you can smooth out those spots for next week so you can play it from start to finish without stopping. Grand performance at Carnegie Hall kind of style. I'm sorry, I didn't notice. Are you using pedal with this?
No. Oh, no.
No. How about if we had pedal
Try.
too?
Okay, for next
Okay.
week.
So this song we're doing without stopping. We're adding pedal. And it's a great song for exploring flexible wrists. Okay? And you make decisions about how you're going to phrase it. But whoever might be teaching next week might ask you about it. But whatever you decide will be right. But just decide. And we'll talk about that in another piece. Okay, so now what do you want to do? You worked on introduction and dance too.
It's not very good.
How about if we just hear a little performance on that one that you worked on that we didn't even start? But